It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Avalanche fans? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with another episode of the podcast dedicated to your Colorado Avalanche. And thank you for making us, or me, your first stop in podcast land. So on today's show, we will be discussing a lot of Avalanche stuff going down because all the players are back. And it was the first time they were getting together. Photo shoots were done. Social media stuff was being posted all the time. Even had a peck on the cheek from Eric Johnson to Gabe Landeskog. Everybody seems to be in good spirits. We've kind of forgotten about what happened last year. Not totally, though. They are using it as motivation, according to Coach Bednar, and he talked a lot. His first kind of back and forth with the media. So there's a lot to get to with what he said and guys that he expects a lot out of. And one guy in particular we will talk about in Shane Bowers. The Athletic had a really good write-up on him. And between that and what Bednar said about him, we'll discuss him in a little bit more detail. And then the Avalanche sign, I don't know how to phrase a guy that we expect a lot out of, not the world, but Logan O'Connor. They signed Logan O'Connor to a 3-year deal. So what will that mean for him going forward? All of that and whatever else we come across. But first things first, follow the show. Social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Send any questions, comments, concerns, opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And of course, follow the show's YouTube page. Just go over to YouTube, search Locked On Avalanche, subscribe to the channel, and be notified whenever a new episode is released. All right, so let's get to all of the news that Jared Bednar came out with. Starting with Devon Toews. When they were doing some run-throughs in practice and stuff like that, Toews had a red jersey on, I believe. Nobody really thought too much about it, but those are, no contact jerseys. Not that they're throwing their bodies around at this stage in the game too much anyway, but it was a little bit telling that he had it on, and apparently he's going to miss the beginning of the season. We don't know how long, but he is going to be out for a little while. Apparently he had shoulder surgery. And according to Jared Bednar, he's the only one on the team that is not healthy. Everybody else is ready to go. So how long, again, we don't know. We just said we'll miss some time after undergoing off-season shoulder surgery. Obviously, you hope this is short term. You don't want this to be to go too long into the season, but this is where the Avalanche have good depth on the defensive end. You love that Makar and Toews duo, and you want that to come back as soon as possible. But the Avalanche will be okay. And here it is. We haven't even played a game yet, and the Avalanche are already struggling with an injury. Is this a telltale sign? God, let's all hope not. But, day one, you're going without one of your top defenders. Okay. You know what I mean? We have to, it's going to happen throughout the season. You hate seeing it on game one. But like we said, you have some guys that could fill in, and maybe some of these guys, or someone in particular, could be Jacob McDonald. I don't anticipate, one of the youngsters coming in right now outside of Bowen Byram to really take that spot right off of the get-go. But you never really know. So, but that's the bottom line is Devon Taves out for a little while. He also said that he believes this is the best goalie depth that they've ever had, as long as he's been around. I don't think that's a slight to Philip Grubauer, but I just feel like he thinks now that having Pablo Francouz back, and he talked about having Jonas Johansson, who I think played very well when he came over. He even threw out Hunter Miska, Trent Miner, Peyton Jones, the guys that are just in the organization. He feels that from top to bottom, from the two guys in Kemper and Francouz, who are clearly going to be the guys with the Avalanche roster, down to the Colorado Eagles roster, he feels comfortable and he feels like they have a lot of depth there. He said he thinks Alex Newhook, he will be given every opportunity to make the top 6. I would expect nothing less from Alex Newhook. I've said many times on this show, I think he is going to have a spectacular season. And I feel that he's kind of been out of the talk when it comes to, top rookie. And I get that. But people I've been really quick to just kind of forget about Alex Newhook. And I think I don't feel like he's taking that personal or anything like that. I think he's just got to play his game. And I think very quickly people are going to come back around and say like, oh yeah, that guy in Colorado who we knew was good is starting to put up some numbers and look really good on a second line. So I think, as quoting Bednar, says, I want to give him the opportunity to play in the top 6. It will be up to him if he makes the most of those opportunities. So it sounds like if you read the tea leaves there, maybe he's kind of saying it's his job to lose, although he's not slotting people in anywhere right now. But when you read something like that, saying it'll be up to him to make the most of the opportunities, well, he's got to be given opportunities to make the most of them. And that's exactly what the Avalanche are going to do. So, but the way he looked at the rookie tournament, if he can carry that over into preseason training camp, he's got a great opportunity to make that second line without a doubt. Okay. Moving on to Curtis McDermott, who they picked up from the Kraken. This one I like because, he's the one guy that we were talking about that is going to be the muscle for the Avalanche. And then on the defensive end, you like that. But if he's on the defensive end, that might take a spot away from someone like, fill in the blank, maybe Bowen Byram to start the season anyway. But it sounds like, I think Byram, the more we talk about Byram and we hear about him and how he played in the rookie tournament and everything that he's capable of doing, he's healthy. I think he is definitely a lock to be on this defensive unit, likely a third pairing. And now, especially with Taves out, it's almost a guarantee. But what they might do with McDermott is use him as a forward on the wing. Bednar wants to do it. McDermott said he is open to doing it. And that, he's not going to be out there to rip any one-timers, on a power play or anything like that. He's out there so you don't mess around with, the cream of the crop. I love that. You need that. You have to have that on the Avalanche. And I've said so many times on crossovers that I've done, did they address it? They addressed it with him, but how much playing time is he specifically going to get? We don't know yet. He could get a lot more playing time if he's playing, on the fourth line. And I know that sounds a little odd to say he's going to get a lot of playing time on the fourth line, but having a guy there, knowing that guy is on the bench, maybe he gets 10 to 14 minutes a night. But for those 10 to 14 minutes, people are going to have to take notice of where he is. Because if you start messing with anybody on those first couple lines, you got to have to answer to him. So I love that move. If that's what they do, I'd be completely fine with it. And they might play around with him. It's good to have a guy that can go back and forth. If you need him on the defensive end, you put him in on the defensive end. If you need him on the forwards, you can have him on the forwards. Either way, he's out there and he's making his presence felt. So I give 2 thumbs up to that. We'll get to the Bauer stuff later because I want to talk about him in a little bit more detail. But he went on to talk about Taves a little bit more. Talked about Bowen Byram, how he said same thing with him. Without him and Newhook and Byram are kind of like a tandem. Yeah, they got picked in the same draft. 12 picks apart or something like that. Was it 12? Yeah. No, 14 picks apart. But they're number one picks and they're your two top prospects. Like, people are going to expect a lot from these guys. And he basically said the same thing about Bowen Byram. I'd like to see him step up and grab one of those top 4 spots. So right off the bat, like, his two big prospects, he is going to give them every opportunity to not only obviously make the team, which they in all likelihood will do, but be a key factor. Newhook on the forward end, maybe on the number 2 slot, and Byram, is second pairing. So he's expecting, and it's, I love hearing that stuff right off the bat. It's not, we'll ease these guys in and yeah, they'll make the team and we'll let them get their feet wet. They did that last year. Yeah, and yeah, it wasn't as long as you wanted it to be, but it was enough. It was enough for them to get their feet wet, and new season, here we go. So a lot said there. And finally, he wrapped it up by saying they are very close to being 100% vaccinated as a team, saying in the near future, which it sounded like they all got the second shot, or I think that's it. Or no, it seems like they all got the first one and the second one will be shortly. And they don't consider them 100% until the second one has been administered. So I think that's where the Avalanche are at with COVID vaccinations. Seems like they're going to be 100%, which is great. You don't have to worry about it. Now, there's some other guys that are already saying that they're not going to do it on other teams. It's their choice. But for the Avalanche, 100%. And, we don't have to worry about guys not being able to come to Canada when the team travels up there. So all good stuff. Yeah, it was good to get some, like a good chunk of hockey news around the league. It was awesome. So especially with Avalanche stuff coming in. Right up until about an hour ago from me recording this with the Logan O'Connor stuff. So, but let's hear from a couple sponsors, and then we'll talk about Shane Bowers. But we're going to hear from Bet Online, and football season, it's back and it's better than ever. Yep. And all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back to start another football season. And as always, you can use Bet Online as your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, betonline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up. And when you do, you will get a 100% welcome bonus that is double your initial deposit just for signing up. And don't forget to use the promo code NFL100. From basketball, football, boxing, obviously hockey, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online, it's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. They are your online sportsbook experts. It's betonline.ag. Also brought to you by DirecTV Stream, and I want to tell you about a simple way to get all of the entertainment that you love without the hassle. It's DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So stop waiting. Get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more over at directtv.com. That website again is directtv.com to find out about DirecTV Stream. All right. Shane Bowers, a good write-up in The Athletic from Peter Baugh about Bowers. And Jared Bednar did talk about him, said he thought he had a very, very good rookie tournament. And a name that he threw out that he compared him to was Martin Kaut And again, Kaut seems to be a forgotten guy with all of these prospects that the Avs have coming through the ranks, ready to take these spots over. It's just, you look at the list and it's like, oh yeah, they have this guy in it. And yeah, Martin Kaut, what about him? But, and Jared Bednar made a direct comparison. He said, I see him as a guy similar to Kaut that will have to come in and have a nice training camp for us. Now, look at the difference between how he phrased that for Bowers and how he phrased things for Newhook and Byram about, all the opportunities in the world for Byram and Newhook, and for someone like Bowers, and I guess Kaut to that extent, they'll have to come in and have a nice training camp for us. So you got a lot more work to do, kid, is basically what he's saying. Can he do it? I've caught myself rooting a lot more for Shane Bowers over the past few weeks than I ever have in the past. And I'm not confident in thinking that he will make this squad for, puck drop in game number 1. I do think he will finally get up at the NHL level with the Avalanche at some point during this season. It's just a gut feeling. I think he's come a long way. He still has some, he's still got a ways to go, but he's there. And when you read the Athletic article, the one thing that he had to work on was kind of his frame. Like, yeah, he's 6'2", but he's a little bit on the thin side. So he bulked up a little bit. He went to work with, I want to get the name right, Ian Mack. And after the season was over, because it was a short off season, he didn't go back home to Nova Scotia. He'd have to go through the whole quarantine process to do that. So he said, I'm just going to stay here. He actually went to Chicago to work with Ian Mack, who apparently has worked with guys like Patrick Kane and Austin Matthews. So, you have someone that's been training those guys and you're going to seek him out. And that seems like what he did was he really worked on not so much his game is good. He has immense talent. He needed to work on strength. And that's the big thing for the Avalanche. I think that's why he hasn't really come up, because they know he can skate. They know he's got scoring ability, but he gets pushed off the puck sometimes, a lot of the times. And if you're getting pushed off the puck at the AHL level, why would you think that it's just miraculously going to improve when you get to the NHL level? So, and he did take a little bit of a step back last year when it comes to stats. I think some players get a little bit of a break because of COVID. It was just a weird season. So, but his numbers kind of took a big step back. So it's a little concerning in that aspect. But from everything that they're saying here is that, he has put in the work. He's put in the work. He's put in the time. And even guys, like Mac himself, who said, he's seen improvements in him. And that's what you want to see in one of your high-end prospects. He was working with more guys than just hockey guys. There were some basketball players that he was working with, but he also went, where did he go? He returned to Nova Scotia and he started skating with an elite pro group that included Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and Brad Marchand. So you're throwing your ring in the hat with guys just to keep up with them. I can only imagine what their workout regimen is like. And he was taking part in that. So when you read things like that, he's dedicated. And that's what I love to see and hear and read about Shane Bowers, because I think he can make something of himself. Some guys, and they say this in the article too, some guys just take a little bit more time to mature and materialize. He's one of those guys. Oh, it happens for a lot of guys. And I've said it so many times that Avalanche fans maybe are a little bit spoiled when it comes to guys like Cale Makar and even Nathan McKinnon and even Mikko Rantanen and Gabe Landeskog. All those guys, kind of got off to a great start to their careers right off the bat. And some guys need to take a little bit more time. So I do think Shane Bowers has a bright future with the Avalanche. I think it starts this year. And that's not to say it's just like he's going to take off like a rocket and be this amazing player. I think he finally gets an opportunity this year. And I can't say, again, it's just a gut feeling. I don't think it's going to be right off the bat unless there's injuries, unless guys get injured in preseason and there's, some spots available. But right now there's not a lot of spots available. I think there's really maybe one spot available for the forwards. Mixing and matching, where guys are going to be. But as far as just like an unknown player for a roster spot, you're really looking at like one. Could it be Bowers? It's always possible. If he just wows the coaches, sure, it's possible. But like I said, I just don't see it happening to start the season. But I do think Bowers is going to get an opportunity finally this year. And then let's see what happens. And then he's in the realm of Newhook and Byram about taking advantage of the opportunity. But his opportunity, he'll get opportunities in the preseason. For Newhook and Byram, their opportunity is like, okay, where are we going to put you in which line or which pairing? Where for Bowers, the opportunity is like, might be during the season. And when you finally get that call, take advantage of it. So I like him. I'm rooting for him. We'll see what happens. All right. Let's hear from Rock Auto and then the Avalanche with a signing. So Rock Auto, with the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the brands that their warehouse happens to carry? You have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. So go explore their easy-to-use website today and find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us section so they know that we sent you to them. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
David Harrison here, the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, celebrating with you a 21 grain salute to a less boring sandwich thanks to Dave's Killer Bread. I don't know about you guys, but when I eat pizza, I eat it for the toppings, not the crust. And when I eat a sandwich, it's for what's inside the bread, not for the bread. But when I throw a sandwich on 21 whole grains and seeds, thin sliced bread from Dave's Killer Bread, it is the epitome of addition by subtraction. That thin sliced bread lets me focus on what's inside the sandwich, but also adds to the sandwich with killer taste, killer texture, killer nutrition, a subtle sweetness, and a seed-coated crust. Dave's Killer Bread is America's #1 organic bread for a reason. It tastes so stinking good. Dave's Killer Bread is made with the highest quality organic and non-GMO ingredients and is power-packed with whole grains, fiber, and protein. Visit daveskillerbread.com to learn more and look for Dave's Killer Bread in the bread aisle of your local grocery store.
All right. And finally, late in the day, as if all of that wasn't enough, the Avalanche announced that they have signed Logan O'Connor to a new 3-year deal that will not kick in until next season. Joe Sakic loves doing that, and I'm fine with it. He did it with Nathan McKinnon. He did it with Sam Girard. He's done it with Logan O'Connor. He locks these guys in. The Logan O'Connor one is the lowest of those three. He locked Nathan McKinnon in a year before, he had that, he just, burst on the scene. And now you got him locked in to the current contract that he's in, which is like $6.5 million, which is incredibly team friendly. Did the same thing with Sam Girard, which his contract is, they signed it last year. It's kicking in. I think this is I don't think it was last year where it kicked in. I don't think so. Now I'm thinking this shortened season has made it melds together with the season before it. And sometimes stuff like this, I get like, I can't remember if it was last season where it kicked in or this season that it kicked in, but either way, he signed Sam Girard to another team friendly deal that you would think he could outplay within the next couple of years. Not saying Logan O'Connor's in that realm, but you got him signed. Like, it's just one less thing you have to worry about heading into next offseason. So they signed him for 3 years. I think it's like $1.05 million per year. But he's a guy, like, again, a guy that if he can stay healthy and is given opportunities, can wow some people. I love this guy's speed. I've talked about it many times. Even Connor McGahee has been on the show. He says when he's calling the games, sometimes it looks like 29, not 25 on his jersey. He's a speed demon. He's got to stay healthy. And I think things can gel for him. I really do. I think a lot of people expect more from him. I'm sure he expects more from himself. But he could be one of those guys that, yeah, if he stays healthy, given the opportunity, I think can be a really good depth player on this team. It's exactly what they need, because we talked a lot about the depth of the team, and not that it took a hit, but it's different. The makeup of this team in the depth department is different. And so guys like Logan O'Connor need to step up and take the reins of, the bottom 6 minutes. I think he can definitely do it, but it's just fragile. His fragility is very real. So you always have to be cautious of that. But I love watching him play. He can be we always say, guys like, if JT Compher is playing on the third or fourth line, he should easily be the best player on the ice. We should be at that point with him, and we're not. I think Logan O'Connor eventually could be one of those guys. Maybe not this year, but I think he can impress some people this year. And then maybe if he can have a good season, stay healthy going into next season, we might be talking about that for Logan O'Connor. How if he's, on the fourth line, he should be the best player on the ice of those between the two teams, fourth lines. I would be very comfortable in saying that about him. So I like him. I like watching him play. He's a hustler. He's who would take over the Matt Calvert, Matty Hustle title? That's the thing. O'Connor could be that guy, but sometimes his hustling gets him into trouble with injuries, which you hate saying that because you love seeing the hustle. I don't know. So, but I think it's a good deal. It's a smart deal. You're not overpaying for him at all. And then in 3 years, let me bring up their cap friendly real quick, because I don't know what his age is. And this is the thing I love about cap friendly. They update this so quickly. But they didn't. Of course not. Why would they do that when I need to look it up real quick? All right, let me go down here. Just want to see how old Logan O'Connor is. 25. Wow, they have not updated this yet. Wow, maybe Cap Friendly took the night off. So yeah, I mean, he's after this one is over, he's past his 27-year-old date, and he can sign anywhere he pleases after this contract. So he has incentive to really, do everything he can to outperform this contract, which is not moving the needle in any stretch of the imagination. But when this one's up, who knows? We shall see. So that's going to be it for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. It's always appreciated each and every day. Another day closer to the opening puck drop. So I appreciate you making this show part of your day. And we will see everybody tomorrow. Man, if we can get another day like we had on Wednesday with all that news and information, just seeing hockey back and talking about players and getting info from the coach on where players could end up. This is the stuff that I love. So that's going to be it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always appreciated. We'll see everyone tomorrow. And here's Joby.
Go, Abs, go.